Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making some basic pieces for my winter wardrobe. I'm going to be showing you the process of how I made 2 turtlenecks. This is the first project that I'm sewing during 2023. I decided that what my wardrobe really needs right now is a few basic pieces. So I'm starting off with these turtlenecks, but I also want to sew some tank tops and maybe some t-shirts as well. To make these turtlenecks, I'm using the True Bias Nico top and dress pattern. And in terms of fabrics, I'm using a couple of cotton jersey knits I got from Blackbird fabrics. So if you're interested in seeing the process of how I made these 2 turtlenecks for my wardrobe, please keep watching. Okay, so the first thing I did was print out all of the pages for my PDF pattern and tape them together and then cut them out in my size. I sewed up a size 4. This is the front bodice piece, which you cut out on the fold. Next up we have the back bodice piece, which you can see is also cut on the fold as well. It looks similar to the front bodice piece. The sleeve piece, which you cut out 2 of, 1 for each sleeve. And then this is the piece that forms the turtleneck. And here are the fabrics I'm going to be using. These are 2 cotton jersey knits from Blackbird fabrics, one in the pine green color and one in a warm brown. So starting on cutting out my pattern pieces, I always take my time to make sure that I'm working on the grain. And for this project, you'll want to cut out your pattern pieces so that you have the greatest amount of stretch going horizontally across your body. So make sure you test out your fabric beforehand and make sure that you're cutting out the pattern pieces so that the greatest amount of stretch is going horizontally across your body. Now I'm only showing you the process of cutting out the green color, but I also cut out the brown color as well. I transferred the markings from the paper pattern pieces to my fabric pieces using water erasable pen. And here are all of my cut pattern pieces in the brown color. So now let's sew. So to start, I place the front bodice and back bodice pieces right sides together, and we're going to sew the shoulder seams together. So for this pattern, they suggest that you use a piece of 1/4 inch wide clear elastic to stabilize the shoulder seams. So in order to attach my elastic to my project, I used a piece of double-sided washable sewing tape. It will help to adhere the elastic to my project while I'm sewing it, but then it washes away once you wash your garment for the first time. And taping it on like this helps me to get a neat finish. Then I brought it over to my sewing machine and I stitched the shoulder seams using a mock overlock stitch. Then I always trim my seam allowances and carefully press my seams open before I move on to the next step, so I've already done that. So the first thing you want to do to attach your neckband to your bodice piece would be to fold the neckband in half. Then you need to divide the neckband into quarters. You can use the seam on the neckband to line up with the center back of the bodice of your garment. You also need to mark 4 even points on the neck opening of the bodice. Then using the points you made, you need to line up the markings you made on the neckband to the garment so that you're evenly distributing the neckband within the garment. The neckband is slightly smaller than the garment neckline, so you're going to have to stretch it slightly to attach it on, which is important to note. So when you're done sewing your neckband onto your garment, it should look something like this. I trim the extra seam allowance down and then I press the seam allowance down towards the bodice of the garment. Next up, we need to attach the sleeves to our bodice. So you should have made some markings on your sleeve piece as well as on the armhole on the bodice pieces. So we're lining up the notches, and then from there we can pin the sleeve piece to the bodice right sides together. So then I went ahead and sewed the seam. I trimmed down the seam allowances as always, and then I pressed them towards the sleeve. When that was done, it was time to match the front and back of my project together. So I'm pinning both the side seams and then the underarm seam of the sleeves right sides together, and we're going to go sew it all in one long go at the sewing machine. So you'll sew starting at the sleeve all the way up to the armpit and then down the side seams of each side. So once that is done, as always, I trim down my seam allowances and press them carefully. The last step is to hem the bottom of the turtlenecks and the sleeves. To do that, I just did a single fold hem, so I turned over the bottom of the hem to the wrong side at about 1/2 inch. And again, I just took my time and measured this so it would turn out evenly. And then I used a triple straight stitch or a straight stretch stitch to sew my hems. You could also use a twin needle or a decorative stitch if you wanted, but I was just kind of feeling basic this day, so I decided to do just a single stitch. Alright guys, so this is how the turtleneck turned out, and I wanted to give you some styling ideas. So in this first clip you can see I'm styling it with a pair of trousers, so you could wear an outfit like this to work or out for drinks with friends. I also just have it tucked into my green jeans here, which is kind of a casual outfit, but because you're pairing two colors together, it just gives it a little bit of something fun. Another way I thought you could style these turtlenecks would be underneath of a jumpsuit. So this jumpsuit is probably a little bit too lightweight to wear in the winter, but putting a turtleneck underneath could make it a lot of fun. To be honest, I don't know if it 100% works, but I thought it would be fun to try. Another idea I had would be to put it underneath a blazer. So you can see I have it tucked into simple white jeans, and throwing a blazer on top instantly dresses it up and makes it look more like office appropriate, which I think looks super cute and looks like a lot of fun. In terms of the green turtleneck, you can style it in the same ways. Here's another example tucked into like a slip skirt. And last but not least, it's just a great simple basic for every day with jeans and a simple jacket and a toque for the winter. So I hope you enjoyed the process of seeing how I made these turtlenecks for my wardrobe, as well as how I would style them. Overall, I'm really happy with this project. I haven't made a lot of turtlenecks or long sleeve shirts in the past at all, so it was a first for me. A couple things I do differently next time. The first thing I'd say is that these turtlenecks just fit me. If they were even a hair tighter, I would not be able to get it over my head. And as it stands, they're a little bit tight throughout the chest and shoulders as well. I chose my size. I sewed a size 4, which I chose based on the measurements on the sizing chart that True Bias provides. And my measurements, my body measurements, correspond really well with those. But because this pattern has a lot of negative ease, meaning it's actually drafted to be smaller than your body measurements and stretch over it, I found that the resulting garment was a little bit too tight. The instructions do give you some suggestions about which types of fabrics you should use and which stretch percentages you need. They recommend a stretch percentage of 70% or higher. The fabric I used, I would say, just has 70%, and for me it wasn't enough. So next time I make these, I will either size up 1 or 2 sizes, or I'll use a fabric that has more stretch in it than the one I used today does. Other than that, I love this pattern. I think it's drafted really well. A couple of things I specifically like are how nicely the turtleneck piece sits along your neckline. It's not too high and it's not too short. Also, the seams around that area sit really nice and flat with the body. I like that the torso has a curved pattern to it. The front and back bodice pieces are narrower at the waist and wider at the bust and hip. So because it's drafted like that, it really does hug your figure and give you that figure flattering and kind of skin tight look. So I thought that was kind of a thoughtful design detail. I also really like the sleeve pattern. Again, I think it's drafted well so that the sleeve sits really nicely at the shoulder seam. So those are all of my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial and sew with me making 2 basic pieces for my wardrobe. If you like this type of video, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope you stick around to see more sewing videos like this. I have some simple projects and some much more complex projects planned this year, as well as some other fun sewing related content coming your way. If you like this video, please also give it a thumbs up. That would help me a lot. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.